Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder. This is Socialing the Distance, and I'm pretty excited today to interview my teammate from Santa Clara University, cross country, back in 1980-81, Gerhard Behren. Ger, great to see you.
Yeah.
And I have asked you up front to, if you have any good embarrassing stories about me, because my son needs to hear these things, and so does our producer, Mike Deering. So, Ger, fire away.
Yeah, I got two because I came up with another one. First one.
Good. Okay.
First one is how do I give a little background? Is that I had no cross country experience.
Yes.
I've been on the rowing team for 3 years.
Yeah.
And decided to go out for cross country, kind of as not as a lark, but as just something to do besides teach freshmen and novices how to row in the fall, which is its own sort of bane. So Mike Crowley, Dan Crowley.
And Crowley, yep.
Over pizza said, hey, you could do a time trial tomorrow and see if you want to be on the team or not. All right. So that's how things got started. So now imagine we're a little bit deeper into the season. Now I'm really realizing, okay, what does it mean to do a track workout? What's a fartlek workout? I just been doing stuff on my own to get in shape for crew. And now this is serious running stuff. And so we're going to go do some sort of workout that's not going to be pleasant. I mean, and what's Larry doing? Larry's eating a burrito like 10 minutes before the workout starting.
Oh, yeah.
I'm nervous because you got to manage some pain in these workouts, right? You have to manage discomfort. And Larry's chowing on a burrito, and I'm thinking, how could you possibly do that? I got hypothyroidism. I got to eat right before we work out. I'm thinking, what you're going to do is just chuck that thing up. And you never did, but God, unbelievable what you would eat within minutes of a workout.
Oh, yeah, I would do 2 to 3 super burritos and a carton of milk. And then we would do 20 times a 400, starting with the 200 jog, and then we would drop it down, and we got a little faster each time. Or that one workout, you remember the one where we did, it was 4 miles on the track, and we would do a 200 at race pace and then a 200 at 6-minute pace.
Right, I remember that, yeah.
And you would be totally relaxed, and I'm running next to you, and I believed I was irritating you because I was looking back to make sure all the kids were with us, right? Just kind of checking shit out because I'm coaching and running, and we're the 2 older guys on the team pretty much, and people would stay with us, But I think I met you. Dan Durante called me, our coach, and Dan said, "Hey, we got this kid from crew, man. Why don't you take him out for a run?" And some reason
out for a time trial. It wasn't a run. It was a time trial. I had no idea.
4-miler?
I had no idea what was going to happen. It was 4x1 on some road by Dan's house.
Yeah.
And you said, well, just try to stay with me the first mile, and then the next 3 you're on your own. Like, all right. I swear I had no freaking idea what was going on. So we go out at 5:20 pace, and I'm thinking, this is hard, but I can keep going. So then I go back and get the next mile, and they said, okay, that's 10:40 for 2 miles. Go back and do it one more time. All right. So I did, and I maintained like 5:20 pace. And when I was done, you said, oh, well, you're the second fastest guy on the team now, which pissed some other guy off.
Danny Greco went insane.
Yeah.
Totally out. I mean, it was like, because, it's like when you were in crew, and if some young whippersnapper came in and did better than you, it might irk you a little bit.
Well, I think he sort of tanked the time trial because he knew he was number 2 or something, right?
Yeah.
And then I got a seat on an airplane to Notre Dame, which was kind of funny.
We had a great little trip to Notre Dame. It was the National Catholic Meet.
Yeah.
And it was, I still have pictures from it. I will send some of them to you. It's on my Holy of Holy wall. But we had a good time. And do you remember one of the side stories there was the then head coach at Marquette University couldn't believe a California team would come all the way if they weren't going to win.
Yeah, well,
trying to
when you think about it, wasn't economical, but Dan Durante had some deep pockets, I suppose.
Yes.
Didn't he just contribute his entire salary to the trip?
Yes, he did. Yeah. He was an engineering professor, and he literally just said, yeah, take the money and put it towards that. And do you know how he compensated me? Did you ever know the story?
No,
so I had a job reading the water meters up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, and I did
remember that. Yeah.
Once, I think you did it with me one time. Once I would carry this little billboard, and I had to check like 100 houses. And one time there was a black widow spider, another time a tarantula, another time 2 blue heelers pushed me up against a house. But my favorite was that next summer, I'm out on a run, and I meet the bass player from the Doobie Brothers. I'm reading his water meter, and he goes, hey, man, come here. I'm going to show you something. Behind his water collection thing were 4 of the nicest marijuana plants that up until that time I'd ever seen. And he said, man, we never steal anybody's weed plants. And I said, total respect. And I would come up each month and check his stuff and tell him if he had some buds on it and things like that, And it was, I think I got $200 a month for that because nice. I had no money, I mean, we were broke, but I loved running with you because you got it. There was no subterfuge. There's no, like, you and I could run 20 miles with you right next to me, and we'd be talking and we'd be really mellow. We would do mile repeats. We would do fartlek stuff. You got it when to lead a little bit, and then and we kind of respected that. There were times like with Danny Greco, and Danny was probably the most talented in our group, and he was so light of foot. But I remember he couldn't run next to us. He had to be 2 steps ahead. Yeah, and you and I would just look at each other and just go, "Yeah, I'm not wasting the energy, man. We got 80 more miles this week, And it was, but you got into it right away, and you really got into it. You totally dug it.
Yeah. Well, I will remind you that I ended the season as the #1 runner.
You did, yes. You kicked my yes.
Here's the other funny story about that. So, you might remember this name. There's a coach nearby. He used to coach at University of Washington. Okay. He got ousted with some bad politics with their AD, and then he ended up at Western Oregon University, Mike Johnson.
Yes, I like Mike. Good man.
Yeah, he was coaching at the time, he was coaching at the University of Portland.
Yeah.
And so that conference championship was at Loyola Marymount University. Yeah. And it went Portland, 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 Gerhard, Portland. And I don't even know who came in 9th and 10th. But he wanted to know who the guy was that broke up his Portland, his 7 in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Well, anyway, so I met, through coaching circles, because I started to coach here. We run into each other quite often. His daughter ran with my daughter. And I told him about that meet, and he goes, oh, so you're the guy who broke up our 7 in a row. Because that was the last year he coached at UP. Then he went to University of Washington. Now he's finishing his career at Western Oregon. Cool. So that was a funny coincidence. Yeah,
it was. No, it was. I knew you were very talented, and I could tell each race you were getting better and better.
Well, I'd never raced before. Never. Yeah. I mean, the first race in Notre Dame was my very first ever cross-country race. I remember being almost in dead last.
Wow.
After the first 400 meters, thinking, what the hell is going on? But then I would pick people off, so that part was good.
Yeah. Do you remember racing at UC Davis?
I do. I don't know if you know what happened at the beginning of that race. So we're racing at Davis, same thing. It's like the second race of my entire life.
Yeah.
And I'm in this pack, and I'm working my way back up, and I can't really tell what's happening ahead. I'm mostly watching the shoulder of the guy in front of me, or his heels, right? Not so smart. And what's happening is that all of these runners are breaking like a wave, and it turns out they were doing that because there was a solid 3-foot tall parking structure right in the way. And I just, bam, hit that thing.
Oh, man.
Totally still so full of adrenaline. I just kept going. But that was like, okay, keep your eyes up, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
I learned the hard way not to look at somebody's shoulders too much. So
yeah, no, it was, we would do, our coach, Dan Durante, lived in the Santa Cruz Mountains. And so we would drive up there Sunday mornings for a long run.
Yeah.
Tuesday nights were at Los Gatos track, where we would do a track workout. And then we would get together Thursdays, either at the track or somewhere else. And then you and I would run a couple times, other times during the week.
Right.
Because we just liked running together, you know?
Yeah.
And it just kept it fun. And then that spring, I got you into track stuff. We started running 10,000s on the track, and you picked
10,000 on the track. Yeah.
25 laps on the track, man. And
San Francisco City College.
Yes. And you tend to enjoy that. And then after,
I don't know if I could say I enjoyed that. Right. That was another little baptism by fire. But it was a good experience.
Yeah.
I've since run a few 5,000s on the track, like at a Eugene All-Comers or whatever. I've never really had good top end speed, but I've been good at staying at 95% of my VO2 max for a while. So,
and then your best marathon is 2:06.
That's right. Thank you.
And that's from Cal International, right? 1983, or what year was that? Do you remember?
No, it wasn't 83 because I just got back from the Peace Corps. 88, I think.
Okay. All right. Because you were in the Peace Corps for 2 years,
right?
And that was in West Africa?
Mali, West Africa, right.
Mali, West Africa. Yeah. And then you came and worked at Runner's World.
Yeah, that was
Wish and myself. That was a few years. And then you went back to Pennsylvania with us, right? Or did you come
No. So I was not part of that whole little package that got to go back to Pennsylvania. I got a job as a technical writer at Underwriters Laboratories.
That's what it was. Okay.
And I did that for about 2.5, almost 3 years, and really didn't think that I was going to do that for the rest of my life. I even went back to school, thought maybe I'll get an electrical engineering degree or something like that, or an official technical writer's degree. I went to LA Community College and started taking some electronics courses and stuff like that. But, my heart really wasn't in it, and ended up going back to school and getting a teaching credential.
And then how did you meet Mary? Were you guys... She was in Santa Clara, was she?
She was. She graduated in 81 as well. Okay. But we did not know each other at all as undergrads.
Really?
No, not one little.
Oh,
we met.
That's cool.
We met at the well, it became my parish and it became Mary's parish, the Mission Church.
Yep.
Yeah, after we graduated. So I was going to mass there 10 o'clock Sunday morning. She was going to mass there 10 o'clock Sunday morning. It depends on who you believe. Like, was it me who attracted her, or was it her who attracted me? Anyway,
it's that combo. Well, you have charm. You do.
I have charm. It was emanating, and so one day she actually just sat down right next to me at mass. So
wow.
So then I had to talk to her, and so.
Oh yeah.
So then we started going out for breakfast, or started dating essentially. So, and then a year and a half later we were married. Yeah.
So how long you guys been married now?
31 years.
Congratulations. And you have 2 children?
2 children, yeah. Colleen is 29. She's a nurse in Austin, Texas.
Oh, wow.
And Bridget is 27. She's a PhD candidate at Notre Dame, clinical psychology. So.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm going to take you back to a run when we were at Runner's World together. You were helping me prepare for the Summit Marathon.
Yeah.
And I needed a 30-miler.
Yeah.
And so you were patient enough with me, and then we're going to talk about how you managed our morning runs, because Deering has to hear this, because I've tried to do it well, but you will do it better. So we were doing this 28-mile run, and we went out 3 hours and 40 minutes. And your job was just to get us all over the place. So we'd finish in Santa Clara because my then wife, Christine, was working there, and we were going to stop and grab some lunch, and then I was going to give you a ride home in Pluto the Wonder Car, my 62 Ford Fairlane. Right. And so we went out, we just kind of zenned out, but it didn't matter if we ran 30 minutes, an hour, 3 hours. We always had stuff to talk about.
That's right.
And it was never running, man. We talked about politics, philosophy.
Right.
And that was one of the things I really enjoyed with you, when I would run with Paul Giray, Paul and I talked mostly about politics. And one of the funny stories is that Dan was a rather conservative. He was a Reagan conservative at the time. And when Paul got tired of his stuff, Paul would just increase the pace and Dan would drop off the back. And Dan knew it, but you and I kind of shared a lot of the politics stuff, and we just had a great time talking. But you would always ask me, "Hey, Larry, do you know where we are?" And buddy, we could be within 2 blocks of my house, and I didn't know.
That's right. And you were always clueless.
Yeah, and we did it. We ran over all the downtown streets in San Jose. Yeah. So why don't you just tell our readers how you would do our morning runs with me? You would just meet me at the house, and then, okay, left, turn right, and I'd be right on your shoulder, and there would be, okay, we're making a left, we're making a right, that kind of a thing, right?
Well, yeah, and that's, it's funny you should mention that. I mean, there's not really that much more to add to that description besides that. The funny thing is that I have running partners now where our relationship is exactly the same. We talk about politics, we talk about religion, we talk about finances, we talk about our spouses, only lovingly, by the way.
Yes, okay. Very nicely put. That was a save, Ger.
Yeah, we talk about our kids, we talk about our jobs, everything except running, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing is true. It's always me saying left, right. And there's a lot of trails here in Corvallis, a lot of forests. And it's what I like to call PhD stupid. These guys all have advanced degrees in science, mechanical engineering, geology, psychology. I mean, I have so many friends with PhDs, but they can't for the life of themselves figure out where the hell to go on a course. Like, we've done this thing 30 times. You don't know it's a left turn at this point. And so, I've continued that role as a conversation instigator and also total barometer. The other thing that I've perfected,
all right,
is timing the run.
Okay.
Right? So we'll get together and somebody will say, and this was when I was running 25 milers or whether I'm just running, 5 or 6 miles now.
Sure.
Someone will say, how much time do we have? We got to be done at 8:30. We got to be done at 6:15, whatever. And my nickname is El Rolo Exacto.
Wow.
Rolo being the reference to a Rolodex. And actually, it doesn't even make a difference if it's down to 400 meters. Like, I'm always right on pace. I'm always finishing right on time. So, my claim to fame is I'll finish your run within 1 minute of the time you want to finish it. And our intervals will be within 1 or 2 seconds per 400, guaranteed. So.
I like that. I recall us always wanting to be back in time for 10 o'clock mass at Santa Clara at the Mission.
Yeah, sure.
And so for us to do that, we had to be done with our runs. You would head back to Santa Clara about 8:45, and I had about 20 minutes my way because I was in Sunnyvale at the time.
Right.
And we would kind of do our thing. I was living on right near Santa Clara University at the time, so we would just kind of catch up. But I remember you asking me so many times, and it's funny because I spent the last 6 months in San Jose. My dad had passed in April, and so I was helping my brother with getting the house ready and stuff. And I'm out taking my walks, and I'm driving down some streets by where I used to live, and I'm going, Ger and I ran here. And I recognize all the streets now. And in fact, one of the ones we ran on every morning off Santa Clara is where my sister Beth and her husband had their 2 little kids.
Nice.
And we ran by it every morning, man. And it just was. But I want to get to a couple other things too, because I want people to understand. There's people that you develop as training partners that you share a lot with, and when you're not with them, there's a lot of times when you still get it, you think about it. And I remember when you were in West Africa, we would correspond. I'd send you one of my old goofy running magazines.
Yeah.
And we would just kind of, keep the stuff going. And when you came back, it was like we had never been apart. Right. And I remember you coming out to Pennsylvania to be with Wish and Christine and I right after Adam was born, that first Thanksgiving, and it just, we found ways to do things. But that experience in running is something that really tied us together. And I remember after you and I had graduated, we were running with some of the young Broncos, the O'Flahertys and some of these guys.
Right.
And you and I would be totally into a workout. And I would be telling jokes, and these kids would continue the jokes. And every once in a while, it just was, hey, guys, let's stay focused and we've got 20 quarters to go. And at first it was kind of light. And then we'd kind of get to the place where you kind of enjoyed that red line. You kind of enjoyed pushing yourself. Okay, we're doing a 74. Now, then it's a 72, that kind of a thing. And the reason why I ran long track races is I couldn't get lost, man. I could count the laps, I never miscounted a 10,000.
Yeah.
There were 2 races I ran that I wasn't racing with you. One was a 10 miler up in the Santa Cruz Mountains, poorly marked. And I got into the lead and I'm like, oh my gosh, I've got 2 miles to go. I ended up running 15 miles because someone sent me up on a hill, And so I needed stuff to be well marked. But I'm going to ask you some deep philosophical questions now. How has your appreciation for running changed from when we were in college till now?
Yeah, it's never changed. It's always been, cool. And I don't understand how I came to this at a young age. Mm-hmm. Well, maybe I do a little bit because I've thought about it quite a bit. I coach PE now, I coach track and field. I coach cross country to middle schoolers and I teach PE, which is, a change in my career. But even at a young age, I understood athletics as being a kind of benediction of my life.
Yeah.
Whether I was playing basketball or even the stupid sport of baseball, football, it came to be basketball in high school and volleyball. And then in college, it was crew and then cross country. And then post college, it just remained running. Now with some arthritis in my knees, too many 70-mile weeks, I get on a spin bike quite often, or I take long walks. Mm-hmm. And being outside moving is a benediction on life. In a more secular way of saying it, motion is my medicine. And so, I've almost never even considered them workouts. I didn't even use that word for a long time. I would say I'm going for a run. This run is fast. This run is easy. This run is full of fartleks. This run has intervals. This run is a race. This run happens to be a race. And I think there are plenty of runners, even at the elite level, who feel that. I guess I'm going to throw somebody under the bus here. One of your advertising guys who was quite talented in the 3,000 meter steeplechase, Dan, he had a brother. There were 2 brothers. One was really serious. One was more gifted and flaky. I can't, if you remember.
Was it Lincoln? Dan Lincoln?
No. This was at Mountain View. There were 2 brothers. One ran the 3,000 steeplechase, and he was trying so hard to hit 840. And, it's just, he considered every workout torture because the only thing he wanted to do was, get to 840.
Oh, Danny Gruber.
Gruber, right.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
And then, and I used to, man, why are you doing this to yourself? If you don't like this, you're a fool. And he talked about loving basketball. He wanted to play pickup basketball all the time. I thought, go play pickup basketball. Why are you killing yourself? Well, it's because he was good at it and he wanted to make the Olympic trials. Yeah. And there was no joy in it for him. Again, I don't mean to throw him under the bus, but I mean, he taught me something by his negative example. And for me, it's just always been about being outside, really getting in touch with how am I breathing, what's my footfall. And it's become even more so the older I've become, like, can I get my heels up to my butt? Is my midfoot strike going well? Are my knees coming up but not too far? What do I got to do with my arms? It's just about always body scanning, right? Yeah. And that's a spiritual experience, whether you call it Zen meditation or whether you call it, 10 times 400. That's what sustains me. I get up in the morning at 4:30 and I'm out because of arthritis. My longest runs now are about 10 miles. Mm-hmm. But I'll still do a half marathon once or twice a year. I still go to the track every single Tuesday. You know,
Wow.
I'm in charge of the lights. I'm in charge of the workout. I'm in charge of the bathroom. And I wouldn't be anywhere else because
Yeah.
it's just part of my DNA. And
Yeah.
and I'm not saying running is the panacea or the solution for everybody. For some, like Yo-Yo Ma, he and his cello, right? Or, for a surgeon, it's he and his knife or she and his knife, right? Um, it's how I connect with who I am. And it just that has always resonated with me, whether it was, a 10-year-old kid playing basketball on the blacktop or now as a 61-year-old still trying to crank out some 400s. So
Yeah, my daily running stopped in the 90s, and I got to be almost 400 pounds. And then
yeah.
I got to a point where my kid, Adam, looked at me one time walking in the snow, and he was worried that I was going to drop dead. And so I started walking, lost 100 pounds. And what I do every night now, we're living in Wisconsin with my girlfriend, Kathy, who we met in high school. And after dinner, I go out for 70 minutes. And there's something for me about, I walk and I'll throw in, a little bit of jogging now. I do stuff like 2 or 3 minutes, at about 15-minute pace. But the whole thing about moving for over an hour for me, it's like daily electroshock therapy. And I try to do 2 hours once a week. And I started thinking about it because William Blake, the poet, an English poet, until his late 80s, he would walk from the center of London out to the country, 15 miles, and get a ride back on a hay wagon. And so many of the runners that you and I know from our era, so many of the people who've retired who are still trucking around, it was always more than running. And I was happiest running twice a day, and as much as I could be. And I was telling Mike that I thought one of the words you would use to describe my running back then was obsessive, but I really enjoyed it. And I was doing ballet 2 hours a day too. So I was exercising about 4 hours a day. So it just, but it was fun. We had a good time.
All right. So I'm going to turn the tables on you and serve you for a second. Because, this is the hard-hitting question that's going to make this thing go viral. We shared an incredible experience for those couple years, when I ran as a senior and then when I came back to the Peace Corps.
Yeah.
And I mean, frankly, you got me the job at Runner's World and I was immersed in that culture there. How is it that you stopped? How could it not have just continued to fuel you? I mean, we've never had a chance to talk because things kind of got sort of lost between us for a decade.
Yeah, it did.
And I mean, how did you get to 400 pounds? You can cut this out, Mike, if you'd like. This is sort of between us here.
No, I think it's something that I've been wanting to talk about. I will tell you that our mutual friend Gary Gettleman took me aside 10 years ago and said, something must have really fucked you up.
Yeah. I mean,
and I said, what do you mean? And he goes, you were the toughest trainer that I ever knew.
And loved what you were doing.
Yeah. I gave myself the message. I dealt with a couple things. One was I had been abused as a child. And the other one was a failing marriage, and the combo of both hitting me at one time. I started doing therapy in about 2003. I just don't think, for a lot of it, it was Catholic guilt to the angst that I was a bad boy and that I shouldn't do the things that I liked. And it's taken me until the last couple years. Took me till after when I I had heart surgery in 2018, and I had it because I hadn't taken care of myself. Right. I got 3 stents, and the doctor was a training partner of a guy from our era, Tim Hacker, University of Wisconsin. Yeah. They looked at my treadmill test, and they got me in on an Uber and had me on the table the next morning. And the guy told me, hey, man, I don't know what I'm going to do. Do you want me to wake you up? I said, no, just get the shit done. And I woke up listening to Johnny Cash's song Hurt. And afterwards, the doctor said, I just saved your life. Don't fuck it up. And so since then, I done this 85% vegan thing, and I do 15% fish. And now we're doing this whole 30 thing, Kathy and I. And what I've learned is I'm starting to get to the place where it's the way I ate when I was running a lot, was that I started to finally get past all the weird shit in life and get back to the things that mean something. So I very seldom miss a night out walking. And my goal this year, I just got off 90% of my diabetic meds, which kind of surprised the doctors, but my blood sugar shit's under control because guess what? I don't eat shit. And I exercise. And my cardiologist told me, lose another 50 and I can take you off everything but one. And so that's my goal. And so once I get to about 215, I'm going to try to, I'm running little bits and stuff, and I'm enjoying it. So it's a long-winded saying that I was trying to, I think, commit suicide by lifestyle. I wasn't happy with myself, and because running gave me so much, but I also think I thought...
You didn't feel like you deserved to be able to run. I mean, like...
that was it, man. I mean, it was... And I also think that the message I gave myself, and this wasn't with the people that that I was involved with, was that I had to give something up to have a relationship. And what was interesting is my parents were married 58 years, and I lived with them the last 5 years. And I asked my dad, how did you guys start having a good marriage? And Mom is cracking up. I just remember this. And my dad looked at me and said, I stopped being an asshole. And I said, what do you mean? And he goes, Larry, guys don't like themselves until their 40s. And then they kind of get to this place and go, if I'm going to change shit, I'm going to change it. And it was true for my dad. And he treasured my mom. And I always thought he would go before Mom. Mom died in 2016. He and I did hospice for her. My dad never recovered from that. She was the love of his life. He didn't know how to live without her. And the thing about, and then watching my brother with Sherry, they've been together since 92. And I remember asking my brother one time, hey, man, you ever going to get married? And he looked at me and he said, yeah, that piece of paper really helped you, didn't it, brother? And so I understood that a relationship wasn't about a piece of paper. A relationship was about two people choosing to be with each other. And like, Mary wouldn't want you without the running shit. She respects that stuff. I didn't get that.
That's too bad.
Yeah, it was really sad. And so I applied for a coaching position a few years ago because I knew I loved, I coached from 90 to 96 with Joe Mangan at Foothill College. And Joe and I were just talking a few months ago. I said, Joe, let's find a small school that we can go in and mess up a couple more generations of kids running, jumping, and throwing, because I ran every day then, and I just enjoyed it. And so I think at a certain point, as I plan my midlife crisis, about 80, that I will probably find some small school to coach at, and I intend to be running. I miss it, and I see my life as a runner. And the thing about it that's so weird is that since I was 23, I've made my life made a living from things I love doing. Somehow I've cobbled it together. Now it's been difficult the last couple of years, but it's coming back around again. And, my brother got me blogging back in 2007, and that's how we make a living now. And my son came up with video stuff in 2010 with Mike, and that's a huge part of the way we communicate. And, Gare, my favorite thing is go sitting in Europe, going to track meets, and I've got all these places that I know that I will go out on a walk and say, that's a perfect place to do a hill repeat.
Yeah.
That's how I see stuff. You know, like we're driving down the highway and I'll tell Kathy, yeah, that hill would be great for a workout. That's how my brain works. But
now you just got to get your body to follow.
Yeah. No, that's the whole thing. So
you can do a hill repeat, whether it's,
it's
a pace or 15-minute pace. It doesn't make a difference. Yeah.
There's a book called the Unforgiving Minute. It's by Ron Clark, and he wrote it with an Australian writer. But what's interesting in there is I memorized this little part where he said that running 3 miles in 13 minutes was easier than running 3 miles in 14 minutes. Now, when my first race, I ran 2 miles in 18 minutes, and my brother was sitting in the stands, and he said, the last runner had come over the hill, and he's going, "Where's my brother?" And he waited about 3 minutes. And he finally saw me. And it wasn't, I had run over 400 races before I won my first race. And I always thought that was a gift because I really appreciated it, man, And it's the thing about when you and I ran, and it was kind of a golden time at Santa Clara because we had a nice group of young guys, Danny Crowley, Danny Greco, John Maloney, Brendan O'Flaherty, that whole group. And but they all wanted to run. We had a crazy coach, Dan Durante, who was out of his friggin' gourd. He had animals on his property. Remember the tortoise and the llama, and
yeah.
There was times we had to put a harness on the llama before our Sunday runs. But I loved running through those ghost towns up there, man. I can close my eyes and still see us running off Summit Road, and it was glorious. But
I hope you find that joy again because it's not elusive. It's real and it's attainable. What I'm finding out is that it's attainable at 5:20 pace or 10:20 pace. It's the same joy. So I hope you find it again.
Thank you. And you did a very good interview, Gerhard. You're pretty damn good, buddy.
My job is talking to people. I've been doing it for 30 some odd years.
So you guys live in,
usually they're younger, but
Now, what school do you teach at?
Adams Elementary.
And that's in Corvallis, right?
Right, yeah. And I coach at Linus Pauling Middle School.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
How long have you guys lived in Corvallis?
32 years. It'll be 30. It'll be 30. It'll be 32 years in the summer. Yeah.
What do you love about Corvallis?
Well, it's a university town. That helps.
Yeah.
The regional medical center, and Hewlett Packard had a huge plant here. So there's a EPA lab. So there's a large professional community, despite it being a small town, less than 50,000.
Yeah.
From where I live, I can run a mile and a half and be on the riverfront. I can run a mile and a half and be in McDonald's Forest. I can run a mile and a half and be in Bald Hill Natural Area. I can run a mile and be doing intervals on OSU's brand new tartan, brand new track. I can run a mile and be at the Corvallis High Track with, and I have tokens for the lights.
Wow.
So that I can grow just about anything you want except citrus in my backyard.
Yeah.
It's an hour to the beach. It's 2 hours to the snow. It's paradise. In so many ways. Yeah.
Well, we're actually looking to possibly move to Eugene. And we actually found a little bitty 1-bedroom house in Corvallis because I'm probably going to be doing some work helping some people in Eugene. And as long as I'm 30 minutes from there, I'm kind of cool. So we may be asking more questions.
Eugene is 40, depending where you live in Corvallis.
Yeah.
It could be 40 minutes away. Yeah.
Okay. So Ger, you got some things coming up, and I'm letting you. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you.
Yeah, tomorrow's surgery. Yeah, tomorrow 10 o'clock. My recent description of it is the doctor is going to play a game of operation on me. And I just hope he doesn't hit the sides.
Yeah.
And then after that, I have surgery vacation.
Okay.
Take 5 or 6 weeks and just get strong again. So,
All right. I will be checking in on you. Thank you for this time, and
sure.
thank you for the keep text. You'll be able to text and send emails and stuff like that.
After about a week, yeah.
Okay.
I'll be in the hospital for about 3 or 4 days, and then I'll be kind of out of it here at home for another couple of days. So in about 10 days, I'll be ready to, rejoin the world, so to speak. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Gary, thank you very much.
Yeah, Larry, I want you to take care of yourself.
I promise.
And yeah, I want you to enjoy life again. How you know to enjoy it. There's a great gift inside of you, still waiting to come out again. So,
thanks, my friend.
All right.
I really appreciate it. I love you, buddy.
Okay.
And this is Larry Eder with Socialing the Distance, and just featured one of my big buddies from college, Gerhard Behren, who asked me questions that no one's ever asked me before because only he could do that.
That's right.
Thanks, my friend. Thanks,
okay.
Gary.
Take care.
All right. Thank you. Hey, sports fans, Larry Eder, RunBlogRun. This is Socialing the Distance, and today we featured Gerhard Behren, my training partner from 1980, 81, 83. Gare and I ran at Santa Clara University together. He was very good at single scull crew, and in his senior year decided that he wanted to come out for cross country. Guy had already been running, and my college coach, Dan Durante, said, take him out for a run. And so I think the first thing we did, as he said, was a time trial. And he recalled that as running 2 miles in about 10:40. I think what we did was repeat 2 miles, if I recall. Ran the first one about 10, the second one in I think 9:50 something. But Gare had done fantastic. He was already the number 2 guy on the team. What I enjoyed about Gare is that he got it. He enjoyed running as much as I did. And while we worked out on Sundays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays as a team, Gare and I ran probably 5 times a week. And we just had a good time. It became very obvious, race by race, that this guy was good. The first race he ran, I think he was, it was at the Notre Dame Invite, the National Catholic Meet at Notre Dame, University of Notre Dame. And I think he ran 20 in the 27s, 27:40, and then UC Davis was the next one, and he improved by 30 seconds. And then we started running 10Ks, and each week he was improving. And it was very obvious that he was going to be there. In our conference meet, we were together till about 5.5 miles, and then he took off. And it was against the University of Portland, and he finished 7th. And the Portland kid was 8th, and I was 9th, and then Danny was 10th. And it was the first time the University of Portland guys had ever been broken up in their top 7. And the following week, we ran the NCAA district meet, and I was a little bit ahead of him there. But it was interesting because I think we really had a competition between each other. We really enjoyed each other and each other's company. And then he went to West Africa for a couple of years with the Peace Corps, came back, and we trained again together. And I got him running 10Ks on the track, and he ended up running a 2:36 marathon, I think about 1987, 88. But he's a lifelong runner. And even with arthritis, he's still getting out there for up to 10 miles a day. He's was the founder of the Heart of the Valley Runners Running Club. And but he and I had this relationship that would cut past the bullshit. And somehow, in the time when I was having a lot of troubles, he and I just didn't connect anymore. And it was really nice to do it today. And he kind of turned the tables on me and asked me some questions like why I was so into running and why I stopped. And the truth was, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I think I felt bad about myself, and I just it was a lot of Catholic guilt and a few other things. I'm getting much better with that now. Walk most days. Have got myself off most of my diabetic meds, and hoping to get off some of my cardio stuff too, and hoping to see running again. But Ger's an inspiration. He's been a teacher for over 30 years. He's been married for just under 32. He's got a 29-year-old daughter and a 27-year-old daughter. And he's facing some physical challenges, medical challenges, and we just ask that you guys keep him in your prayers and thoughts. That's what I'm doing. But when I would be having and I didn't get to tell Ger this during our interview, in the 90s and the 2000s, when I was having a really tough time, I could close my eyes and see Ger and I running up in the Santa Cruz Mountains and how much we enjoyed it. And it was just the pure act of running. I'd never met anybody who got into it like that before. Gerhard is pretty special. We worked together at Runner's World. I helped him get a job there. He came back and visited us in lovely Pennsylvania when Bob Wishnia and a few of our other friends were there too, and at Runner's World. But I think the last time I saw him was about 2005. I would hear from him once in a while, and I'm sure I was that receptive, but I am now, and it was just great seeing him. What's changed? He looks the same, except his hair is a little whiter. So, but we had a good time. Santa Clara University was good for both of us. The cross-country team there was fantastic. Dan Durante, who was the coach, taught us about many things. Running was the least of them. Taught us about how to live and how to learn about the world and how to be optimistic, and all those things are good. So watch the video, enjoy it, pass it around to some of your friends. The joy of running is a big deal. It's a real thing. And even when you're not doing it, but you're actively moving, walking is a big thing. You get to this place where it's like you're cleansing yourself spiritually. I used to call it my daily electric shock therapy. So, and Ger gets that. He's doing it for 30 plus years. This is Larry Eder with RunBlogRun. This is the epilogue to Socialing the Distance. And we featured Gerhard Behren, my teammate, classmate from Santa Clara University. We ran cross country together in the 1980-81 season. If you like RunBlogRun, please like us at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and tell your friends. If you love what we do, subscribe on our YouTube channel. We have 369 audios and videos from 2020. And we have about 2,500 audios and videos from over the last 11 years. Thanks to Mike Deering for producing this. Thanks to Adam Johnson Eder and Mike Deering for coming up with the programming ideas, Socialing the Distance, Athletics Chat, and Combos with Larry. Thank to my dear brother, Brian, who convinced me in 2006 sometime that my future was in blogging. And thanks to Bob Anderson, who gave me my first job in the running media back in Runner's World back in 1981. And Gerhard and I worked together for several years, I think from 82 to 85, perhaps. Yeah. Anyway, stay safe. Talk to you soon.